And so this very thing, right, we're going to practice with real things today, not just ideas, right? And the real thing then is what? The real thing is, how do I live peaceably? How do I support peace? How do I support peace in myself, in my family, in my relationships, and then in the world? How do we support peace in the Ukraine, for example? And peace itself then becomes an overarching, and then an episodic, and then a momentary, just this present moment peace. How do we live that, be that, speak that, do that? And thank you, Victor. I want to stay in conversation because I want to know how best we can support you as a community, because many have asked, by the way, how can we support you?
I'm good.
I want you to think about that.
I was struggling, but I mean, you get, because it's kind of like a dissonance, you can't get it or accept, but I was lucky that I could help them, and I have found people here who are dropped everything, and they went and they bought bulletproof vests and helmets and sent them there. That level of the vest, you need to have an authorization from US government to export, but they went around that and they delivered it there.
Yes, lovely.
So I must say that the level of support from around the world is unbelievable, right? This never happened before.
That's
such
right.
level of unity of the whole world, except say probably maybe China is not yet, even China, is not 100% behind Russia.
That's right.
So this is very amazing.
It is very amazing. And I have to say, it may be required. This may be an essential part of the new way, right? This is where how we can lovingly say no without bombing somebody else, and how we practice these things. And again, I don't know what will be required in order to make Russia finally stop, except that we are at least in the conversation, aren't we? We are a very large part of the conversation, by the way. I do know this from other conversations I've had with people in bigger places than I live, is that the UK and Germany, and we all have to say no. And then we have to say no when it's our turn, right? When we don't like what somebody does, when we're right. One of my conversations recently was with my sister, who was saying, but it's not like the US has done it all right. It's not like even the Ukraine has done it all right, that there are violations, wrongdoing. Isn't it true? Well, yes, haven't you? I have. I've done the wrong thing. I've said the wrong words. Haven't I? Haven't you? And does that mean then that we are not deserving of support, that we are not deserving of safety, that we are then not deserving? And how to do so? There is a right question in there, isn't there? How then do we do so without propagating violence, without propagating ill will, without propagating or supporting wrong, right? It's a constant question, and it's complicated, isn't it? It's not so simple. If we just send guns to another place, it doesn't mean it's not support, but it also means we have to have certain understandings, right? Now, these are just big questions. I don't have the answers. We're not going to stay large today. In the practice, we're going to get down into our own lives, into our own, what's your intention for today for peace? How do you plan to live it? Leanne, are you there? Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've been thinking a lot about this and how inconvenienced we are around the high gas prices. And, I mean, if we all made, yesterday I actually made a decision not to drive somewhere,
That's
like
right.
I think these are little, well, they're not little, but there's things that we can do to support the economic things that we can do to affect change, and they inconvenience us. We're going to pay $20 more at the gas pump. Okay,
Yes, we are.
if you did that, you're doing something, right?
That's
So
right.
look at the economic picture in the large scale. Our country, other countries can make a difference, I think, even in our everyday actions.
Yeah, just the lack of complaint, folks. I've heard it already too many times, I will tell you. It doesn't mean it doesn't impact you. It certainly does. That's the first law, isn't it? The natural law says if another is harmed, you will be harmed. It's true, isn't it? If you're inconvenienced, if others are inconvenienced, you are going to be inconvenienced. Isn't it true? You're going to have to get on your bicycle, says Dennis. You're going to have to start riding the e-bike if you happen to have one. You're going to be walking more. Isn't it true? And isn't it right? Because couldn't we do that, just said Leanne? Wouldn't that be a minimum to go, okay, so be it. I'm going to walk down to the Smart and Final.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
I'm not, that's like the end all beat all, but ultimately that helps a lot.
Contributes.
But it's 8% of our oil consumption. But it's something.
Everything that moves toward with the intention of wholesomeness is bigger than you think. Let's go there. It's bigger than you think. That small thing, it becomes bigger than you think. That one thing that Victor just said, that somebody went and purchased bulletproof vests and helmets, right? That's bigger than you think. That may save the life of someone. Isn't it meaningful? And we don't, it is not ours, says the Buddha, to go, how big does it need to be? See, he says, I don't care. Get back here. Is it a wholesome intention to reduce harm, to cause less suffering, to complain less, to make less of yourself, which is the whole act of renunciation, right? And then from there, the understanding of the karmic impact is gigantic. And really, it's don't worry about what, do good. Do good, whatever it, small thing, send a letter. People are now doing the Airbnbs, right? They've rented rooms just to get money to people that, of course, they aren't going to be staying in. Right? There's no end to the ways that we can contribute. And now we're going to reel that all the way back to this moment. So take a sip of your tea, coffee, or water. And then there is the collective intention beyond these individual intentions, how we live each day uniquely in the present moment. Then there's something bigger called, what are we all doing here? Right? What are we all doing here? Well, we're going to propagate peace as well, all of us here, by setting the mind, by setting the heart, by resting the body for a time. And then from that, we also trust other wholesome, beneficial, kind, skillful actions of peace will result. And we don't even have to worry about it. Like, how will it happen? Don't need to know. We just start here, we establish here. And so let me see if I can't find this. Let's see if that's workable. I sent it to you. Let's read it together, and then we will sit. This is by someone by the name of Michael Lunig. We give thanks for places of simplicity and peace. Let us find such a place within ourselves. We give thanks for places of refuge and beauty. Let us find such a place within ourselves. We give thanks for places of nature's truth and freedom, of joy, inspiration, and renewal. Places where all creatures may find acceptance and belonging. Let us search for those places in the world, in ourselves, and in others. Let us restore them. Let us strengthen and protect them, and let us create them. May we mend this outer world according to the truth of our inner goodness. And may our hearts be shaped and nourished by our greatest love and wisdom. Amen. May we find these places within ourselves. This is our first greatest act towards peace. And so let's sit. Establishing the body, supported, alert, and tranquil. And then for just a moment, we are still and sweeping the body with the attention and the breath. I can feel the energy, the elevated heart rate, the little grip of fear. Fear for us all, and the wish for peace and the end of suffering for us all. And we set the intention, however we uniquely frame or phrase or imagine peace, we set the intention for that wholesome aspiration. You may have a picture of peace, a moment of peace that you can call to mind. Aspiration for peace. May all beings be safe and well. And today we're going to offer the merits of this practice today to all those in the Ukraine who seek peace and all those in Russia who seek peace. All those here today practicing together who seek peace. May we all have peace. And may that intention, that right intention, that right resolve for peace spread throughout the world. Omitting none. Gather the attention once again towards the whole body, sitting here. Feet, legs, and hips. Breathe in, make contact. The back, the shoulders, the arms. May they be supported, upright, and at rest. letting the shoulders release, letting the head be elevated, balanced, and upward. And as we breathe in, let's come down the whole front of the body, softening, releasing, and relaxing. May there be peace in this body. And then finding a place to rest the mind. Holding that overarching aspiration for peace, we don't keep constructing concepts for peace. We now embody peace, breath by breath. We commit ourselves wholeheartedly, sama sankappa, to peace this one breath. And that means no past or future, no self directed clinging, no making, no resisting. We simply abide the breath. The peacemaking breath. This is a radical act of renunciation. We let go of thoughts of the self for the experience of the breath again and again. Let go of assessments. We let go of ideas of breathing. We let go of the concept of the breather for the breath itself. There's only the possibility for peace right here, alive here and now. creating the refuge for peace in your own mind, body. Which means that we renounce self cherishing, the preoccupation of the thinking mind, the self making nature for presence, for non harming, for wholesome action that is born of this presence. But we must begin here, stabilizing, steadying, calming, that seeking, wanting mind. This is the radical act of renunciation. We breathe the peaceable breath right into the peaceable body and open that peaceable heart. Mindful of the body and breath, we release, unhook from discursive thinking, even thinking about peace. We establish peace in our own Buddha body with this Buddha breath. If you notice the mind naturally wandering, even wandering in a wholesome way to what can I do? What should I contribute? Call the mind back. Call your attention back. We establish peace right here first. And from this peaceable heart mind, the one committed wholeheartedly to the end of suffering, with this aspiration for peace today. We reflect for a moment on how peace is alive in us already, the peace that we are already committed to, the non harming we already practice. The choices for non ill will, non hatred, non aggression, non cruelty that already exist within this heart mind. We recollect it and we call it into presence. We cultivate thoughts of peace, of non-harming, non-ill will, non-cruelty. We restrain ourselves from unwholesome, unskillful, unkind actions, unkind speech, unkind thoughts. And we mindfully, intentionally direct the mind, direct our speech, and direct our actions towards that which are wholesome, supportive, kind, loving. Calling those actions to mind, the care we offer ourselves and others. And from that existing aspiration for peace, I'd like you to think of one way you could contribute today to peace. Maybe we could begin with peace in our own heart minds. This very practice. Creating greater peace for ourselves. And then I'd like to expand that aspiration for peace to some relationship. What action could you take today? What thought today? What speech today to contribute to peace within your family, within your relationships? And then beyond those you love and the relationships you currently have, how might you contribute today to peace for those you do not know? And can you make this offering with a peaceable heart? And then I would like you to think of a thought, a speech, a action of peace that you will commit to each day this week. And then I'd like you to imagine yourself committing that action, seeing yourself make that call, contribute that money, write that letter, pray, vow, commit. And check into the body, see how that feels. And then I'd like you to call to mind our Sangha member, Victor, and the people of the Ukraine. I'd like you to commit once again, setting the intention for an action of peace, of kindness, of care, of compassion that you can extend. May we be a peaceable refuge. For all beings. May we be those places of simplicity and peace. May we find those within ourselves. May we be a refuge. Let us find these places within ourselves and then let's live them, speak them, act them in the whole of the world. Just today. May we all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. We will all be free from ill will, aggression, hatred, enmity, and all forms of separation from our brothers and sisters. May we be a contribution to that peace, to that connection. We all belong. And may this collective aspiration vibrate out with all those others who seek and want and wish and are peace as well. May we all be peace. And may this practice today contribute. So once again, we have touched into those 3 times intentions, that which is present this moment, that which is something we commit to embodying, that which we commit to sustaining, right? Like how to be peace, not only just now, but for the whole of the day. And that which we commit then beyond this day, into the next, and then into the next, right? What is that commitment? What does that look like? What are those actions, those thoughts, those words? And so I just want to make sure that we understand the work, the practice. You'll see the benefits. That I'm not concerned about that part. I know you'll see them. I hope you can feel them now, just now, as you have embodied peace now and its impact now and its fearlessness. Can you feel that? Yeah. It isn't about being in fear. It's about what I can live, what I can manifest, what I can do. And we have a habit in this culture, don't we? It's really quite gigantic for measuring. Aren't we amazing measurers? We measure. That's ego, folks. Only ego measures. Otherwise, we're just offering. We're just being. We're just contributing. Right? Only ego goes, how much? Is it enough? Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's right. It doesn't mean we don't have right questions. In fact, I have a lot of questions like, how can I best contribute? Right? That's a beautiful question. I didn't know last week, so I just did what I could. I don't know the very best way to make the most of that dollar. I don't know the right person to talk to get the most impact, but that's the measure, isn't it? See how it gets in the way? And so guess what we do, folks? Nothing. Because we go like, I don't know. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know where to give. I don't know how to make this all better. That's the measure, isn't it? Only the measure. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just doing what we can. I did the Airbnb because somebody sent me a thing and said, hey, we can contribute to the Airbnbs. And I found a room and I found 2 farms. And I thought, okay, I'll just, right? People on farms have food and maybe they're going to help share that. I don't know. I don't know. Somebody sent me a beautiful list. One of them is Shelter Box, which is supported by the Rotary, which I belong to, which puts real medical supplies and blankets and foods and right there on the ground, right? Shelter Box, another good one. But we will make a list. We'll be coming up with a list of ways that we can support. And if you have something that you know is making a contribution, you let us know also. So peace this moment. Yes, that poem is should be right at the top of the chat. That was my intention. Can't say it's there, but it was what my intention was. I'll keep looking for it here. I wonder if it didn't get sent. Let's see. There it goes. So from here, then, any thoughts or questions about why it's essential for number 1 to begin with peace ourselves? Why?
Diana, isn't it kind of like the same, I don't want to say theory or idea of you need to be at peace with yourself, just as if, you can't give from an empty well. So when you as a vessel are empty and have been giving away so much of yourself, you have nothing to give to anyone else, nor are you strong enough to give that. So in a way, unless you have that peace within yourself, you can't exude that to others.
That's right. If you are not whole, what will you give? Right, it's the formula. And we don't trust that either, do we? Because there is also the habit nature of mind that goes, well, I need this, and then I need this, and now I need this. And this was my family the other day going, look at the gas prices. And I was like, of course, that's our contribution. But how could it be? Because we don't even use Russian, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no, right? This is part of the interconnectedness of it all. And I understood because, yes, that brainstem does not want to be inconvenienced. It's true. And we will never be able to create the world we want if we live by that. Will we? We will never be able to construct the world we truly seek if we go, yeah, but it's so inconvenient. I think it's going to get more inconvenient, by the way, not less. The truth resides within, Dennis says, but what I reveal is what is real. What I live is what is true. What I live, not what I think, not what I hope for even, which is why right intention, ultimately, sama sankappa, is not sufficient. It cannot only be an idea, can it? It can be made real from there. And in fact, the neurology, if we read chapter 5, we'll go back to it in a minute, it says what? Right from that neural circuitry becomes energy, and that energy becomes manifest then in other thoughts. And then from those other thoughts, impulsion for languaging it and living it and acting it. And so then if we do not know the intentions from which we are living, we can only really, if we are not mindful, we can only do harm. Because left to the brainstem's just going to be sizing up its inconvenience and its survival, right? And again, not to then demonize or vilify the ego, but it is based solely on one thing, and that is fear. And we can see it, can't we? You know, while I was sitting, I'll give you an example. I had an image just come of planes flying over. I have no idea where this image came from, by the way. I'm not thinking much about it now, and dropping bombs. And how easy it is to drop those bombs because you don't see the blood. You don't see the skin. You don't see the starvation. You don't see the wreckage, right? It's pretty, you just, right? It's a button. Really amazing. And I don't want us to stay distant. It's a little bit of our habit also. It's ego's habit to stay some distance from those, as Victor said, what this could be us. Of course, it is us. It's not only could be, it is us. And that no-fly zone, right, Dennis? That no-fly zone is right here, right now. That's the only no-fly zone that I know, right? And how to live it. So I made the request in the practice. What is the way? Where do you place the mind today? With intention. Where do you then? What do you call on to speak from? And how do you live it? These are the 3 essential components. I'm going to see if there are any questions before we move to the chapter 5, because I want to work through that chapter today. As we're going to that, I'd like to remind everyone of a couple things. I'm going to see if I can't get this on share screen first. Let's see if I can pull that off. I'm going to just move some stuff out of the way here. Hopefully we can see this. Are we looking at it? I hope. Tanya, I can see your head. Can you nod if you can see? Yeah, thank you. One of the things I liked about that Gregory said here, this is in chapter 5. I don't really know what page we're on because it's not the same for me. Is that overarching intentions are ultimately revealed in our character. I thought that was pretty important statement. I've moved from it somehow now, but our overarching intentions are revealed in who we are, how we live, and in our character. Yes, it's absolutely all true. And it sets the path and direction for the whole of one's life. And so, do we set the regular aspiration for service? Or do we not have time? Or do we not make time? Do we set the aspiration, for example, for ongoing service? How do we do that? As just one example of that. The overarching direction of our lives, it says here, that big umbrella, that which we, if we were to name three things that we aspire to in this lifetime, I remember for my brother, that was wealth. We were poor, and he was very clear. He set the intention for wealth. He did, by the way, accomplish that. And it wasn't probably until he got sick before he died that he came to reassess that overarching direction of his life with significant regret. By the way, beautiful house, beautiful neighborhood, but with more regret than joy. Because of the cost and the consequence of that to his well-being, which I believe included his illness, actually, right? And so we don't all wake up to this overarching until we're in a crisis. And that crisis can be personal, that crisis can be familial, that crisis can be national, that crisis can be global, right? I mean, there's every level of that. And so assessment of these overarching directions, paths of our life are often good things to look at. And you've heard me say it before, look at how you're filling your calendar. What's in it? What's in it? And for me, for example, just finding times to exercise every day a little is fairly challenging for me. That's not a good thing, by the way. It's something I want to work in because why? My overall wholesomeness and wholeness is, as Tanya was saying, will be better served. Others will benefit from that as well. What is my life's direction was one of the questions that Gregory suggested. Dependent upon the ill will element, the perception of ill will arises. This is a part of the sutta that is called dependent co-arising, which says from one thing leads the other, from that thing then leads the next. And we'll look at that in a moment because he does write a part of it here. Overarching intentions manifest as character. That's where we were. And to know that. A vow, for example, is an overarching intention. And to take a vow is to formally commit oneself to a certain qualities, a certain aspects of being, certain, and many of us have taken those vows. There are several here who have taken religious vows. There are others who have taken the Bodhisattva vow. There are others who have set a personal vow. There are those who have taken a familial vow, vow to marriage, a vow to support family, a vow to any other number of qualities and characteristics. I loved this particular statement from the Jewish tradition, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. That would be an example of one of those kinds of vows. But again, alone, it is not enough, is it? It has to be then real, livable, available to us in the present moment. And what does that look like? Which is why these three times are completely interwoven. It's not linear. It's then back, and we're taking that overarching aspiration, looking at it against what we're doing right now. And sometimes I get confused. Sometimes I go, well, I don't know where this really fits, or I'm pretty sure it doesn't fit. I've had those thoughts as well, like, really, what is my investment in this, since I'm not too sure that it really is consistent with my overarching aspirations. And in fact, sometimes I'm certain it isn't. And yet the habit itself might persist. And so just that exploration, inquiry, examination is important, and not always easy to do with compassion. Why am I continuing this if it is not in the service of my well-being, my ease, and then that of others? What is happening here? He suggests time to reflect on these things, some more about overarching. He says, if your life is not yet inclined towards wholesome intentions, how might you strengthen that? One of my suggestions, of course, is that we call up images or phrases or specific vows or quotes or poems or a thing we can recite, repeat, write each day to emblazon, embolden, imprint this on our heart minds. And yes, I do think we do need to do it. I think, again, we're a little bit lazy in that we go, okay, I've got them, they're in my head. I think it's better to spend a few minutes cultivating those qualities, just as we did today with peace. Nested intentions, he says that one lives within the other. And of course, it's true, within any momentary intention lives the overarching intention, which lives the episodic intention. And that's what we're doing this week. What is the intention for peace? How do you live that for you? How do you live that then in the episodic, that which is for your family, for those around you, for those you're in contact with, then those who aren't? How do we live peace, for example, then for those we aren't going to come into contact with today? How do we do that? And those are inquiries, not question answer, not a test to be taken. Why am I doing the action? We asked that this week. What is my life's direction? How does it impact it? He gave here the little nested intention graph. The mental direction of the mind reveals intentions. Where do you spend most of your time? What are you thinking about? Yeah, it's highly revealing. Mostly, I have to say, it's us. What's going on? What am I getting? How is this working for me? Is it working for me? Maybe it's not working for me. We have a tendency to direct most of our mental energies, mental directions, towards thoughts of oneself. It doesn't mean that we don't have to figure out how to get our pants on. That's not what I mean. That's a requirement. I'm talking about the continual, how am I? How am I appearing? How am I looking? How am I being? How's it going? How am I being related to? How am I being validated? How am I being supported? That it's really just endless versions of that, and that knowing something about that, that's our right mindfulness. And then making a decision, is it useful to continue this me thinking, self-thinking? And again, yes, at times essential. You didn't hear me say no, as it relates to being wholesome, as it relates to being whole, as it relates to what do I do for myself today so that I'm my healthiest, that I'm my most available, most present. Yes, it is. It's why I'm sitting here talking to you, because I've decided that this is one of those things that I can do today that will be of greatest benefit to me and then beyond me to others. And I feel very certain about it. Washing the dishes, he gave the example of washing the dishes not only for himself, but seeing his wife's things in there and then saying, noticing generosity and his own meditation practice he named. This time is not separate. They're all interconnected. You can practice with one or them all, he's saying here. Overarching mental directions can conflict with each other. So my aspiration for connecting with the world through travel, through knowing something, through having direct experience with other cultures and other peoples and can sometimes be in conflict, for example, with my deep ecology, which says every time I get on the plane, I'm in some way contributing to significant pollution. And that these can sometimes be inconsistent or pitched against each other. And how do we reconcile those? I don't always think these are easily resolvable, but then we're making mindful decisions, aren't we still, which is okay. I am going to drive to Hemet to see my mother every other week, even though the gas is the fossil fuel is a pollutant, even though, right, X, Y, and Z other resources are being used. Yes, in fact, that is clear. And that we understand those interdependent, interconnected factors is also important, for example. That decision not to purchase Starbucks. And yes, I did have a Starbucks on Saturday. My husband did buy it for me. He is not taking on that particular aspiration at this time. Right? So how do we work with this? What are we doing? How are we living? And is it a habit versus a reflection of one's whole character? When conflicts of mental direction arise, the emotional will almost always win. And that's because it's potent, it's strong, it's got a energy and a power in it. If we are not mindful, emotion will almost always take the lead. And emotion itself, we know for certain, is not sufficient. It is not sufficient wisdom. It is deep, it is compelling, but it is not always filled with wisdom. And so our mindfulness, in addition to our emotion, will almost always help us get into middle path, right inward measure. We don't just want to be led by the emotion without being mindful of it. He goes on to talk about karma here a little bit. And I liked what he had to say about it because he didn't make it this idea of lifetimes of karma. He establishes it, as I do, as a cause and effect relationship, that we have a thought, it does often unattended manifest as a expression in one way or another, which leads to an action. That by itself is karma, cause and effect. And that to know something about that, the thoughts that are feeding, the actions that are feeding, right, and how that all operates. And I like that his perspective. If you haven't looked at that, it was really very much more modern take on karma versus lifetimes. And if we're really being honest about it, from these traditions, these teachings, they say every moment is essentially a new lifetime. You are not that which you were just the moment before. And you are not, other than as we establish conditions, that with intention, that which will come next. And in these teachings, and I do love this, that intention is one of the strongest links to karma that there is. This comes directly from Buddhist teachings, but that one's intention will actually determine not only the course, the direction, the validity of our actions, but it's karma. And so if I do not intend to step on the ant, but do, that karmic resonance will be very different than me with aggression stomping on a cat or kicking the dog or out of aggression. And there was a beautiful story of Angulimala, who was a murderer, who had murdered many, many people, was caught in some addictive fog of violence. And the Buddha called to Angulimala to stop. And Angulimala, clearly seeing in that reflected moment, he woke up and saw the pain that had been caused, the destruction that had been caused. Don't we all? The damage that had been caused by that unmindful, unintentioned action. And he was enlightened and went on to, with intention, then care for others. Isn't it true? Don't we? We go, whoops, wait a minute. Stop. That's not too helpful. I see harm being caused from these thoughts, these actions, and consequently get set right course. But wait a minute, I don't have to do it that way. I can proceed without continuing harm. And that karmic influence is understood to be important. And that karmic energies are also being, momentum is also growing in us. I liked both of these statements as well. Yet even when we are barely conscious of choosing, even when we don't think we did, it's not true, you did, the actions we perform with our bodies and minds affect us more profoundly than any external event. Wow. Right? That's wow. That the actions we choose, the thoughts we choose, the speech we choose, the behaviors we choose are much more profoundly impacting than anything around us. Yep, that is good news, isn't it? That is good news, because how I think, how I speak, and how I live is a much greater force than the conditions in which I live and am relating. And he goes on, even on autopilot, emotions and actions contribute drop by drop to habit and to character, reinforcing links between hormones, behaviors, and the neuronal pathways. This cause and effect relationship is at the heart of understanding karma. So, and I loved what he had to say there. We have wholesome and unwholesome view, remember, that leads to wholesome and unwholesome thoughts. If we have a view that says others are separate from me, I will then think and act in a way that separates. If I have a right view that says we are all a part of the whole, we are interconnected, and my happiness and your happiness are completely interconnected, interlinked, and dependent on each other, I will think and act in a way that also reflects that. From right view, that perception will lead to right thought, or as I've been saying, wise resolve is just another example. Conscious choices are understood to be much more impactful to karma than unintended. I just used that ant example. And there's no doubt about it. We are capable of weakening and eliminating old habits and tendencies with new intention, right? With new intention to go, whoops, wait a minute, I see this isn't helping. Let me begin to dismantle, untangle. And there's such a thing as right remorse, to go, whoops, that has not been working. I have caused harm here. I was just speaking with someone who's been a practitioner for a long time. And he came to me saying, some actions I took a while ago, though they appeared right, have had some significant negative consequence. And the remorse that he felt was so touching. I understood that he understood that though the action could be explained, it was ultimately came also out of an aggression and a hostility and a fear. And his recognition of that invited a whole new set of thoughts and speech in the way of letters and in the way of compassionate action, both for himself in his own fear and then those in the family. Very important. These are very life transforming impact, right? This just is one recognition, just like Angulimala. It says it not only has a personal impact, it has relational impact, it has social impact. It's exactly all right. It says actions are defined differently, assign different penalty or reward, depending on the absence or presence of their conscious choice. That it is true. It is true. So if one chooses an action with intention that does good, it is understood to be different than someone who accidentally flipped a switch. But it doesn't mean that its consequence it could necessarily be different. It does mean that the consequence to you actually is also different. Doesn't mean it didn't help if it helped. I rely on intention a lot personally. I would say I'm led by intention in a way that is sometimes annoying. I know it to be true. I check in on my own heart. It doesn't mean it was skillful, right? It doesn't mean I did it right. I'm not claiming any of that, folks. I just know that at heart, I did not intend harm. I likely was blind. I could not see the potential discomfort, distress of another in the action, and always open to learning about that. But I really work hard not to come from ill will, not to come from hatred or aggression. And sometimes I am successful in that, and sometimes I am less successful, but always willing, right, to learn, to go, whoops, wait a minute, I see the impact now, and it was not what I wanted. And so now I will look at that and adjust, right, align more appropriately to wholesome life patterns. They've asked to think about our own character traits, and in those character traits, which are come out of wholesome intention, and maybe some that come out of habit more than wholesome intention, and just some awareness about that, I would say, is a little bit useful. I think so. I've noticed it's useful to me. And that we can abandon that which is harmful, or adjust, or maybe make effort towards more wholesome thoughts, words, and deeds. And that we're always adjusting, right? We're always growing, we're always learning, we're always changing. So we're making those micro adjustments really literally every breath. Planted seeds of character, automatic responses versus the role of intention. I've kind of gone over that. That which is conscious holds a lot more energy, a lot more alignment, and a lot more consequence, both for karma and for, most often, the way things go in the world. The Buddha analyzed intentions one by one, sense, desire, ill will, and cruelty. And what he came up with was its opposite again, renunciation, which means we are not always just in seeking pleasure, seeking feeding that hungry ghost that just is voracious. And that's what renunciation really means, is that we don't spend so much time on our blippin' selves, thinking about what's going on, supporting this ego in all these ways that really, that's required first for the possibilities of goodwill and harmlessness or compassion to arise, that one actually has to happen before the other. I've noticed that it's true. If I'm spending a lot of time thinking about me and how I got something or didn't get something, or how it went or why it went that way, and the me of it, I don't have very much time for thinking about the well-being, the happiness, the ease, and the safety of others. Do you? I don't. I get all taken up with me. Even when I like to think it isn't about me, it's mostly still about me. Independence on the sensuality element. Oh, this is the way one thing leads to another. So I'm going to read it. Independence on the sensuality element, there arises perception. Independence on perception, there arises intention. Independence on intention, there arises desire, volitional will. Independence on that desire, passions, energies, enthusiasm. Independence on that arises commitments, passions, and ultimately quest, accomplishing, moving towards something. And we just know that's true. We're almost out of time. I'm just going to look quickly to see if there's anything else. That's the same statements. He says that right mindfulness and right effort are an essential part. They come after right view and right intention. And we will be going to that for next week. I want to see if I can't get us to, and also he says at this very end that shared intention holds a potency of power and a karmic resonance that is greater than any one individual action, but that they are made from them, and so that they are essential. Shared intention equals a more profound impact, but it begins with one's individual intention, and they cannot be separated. So right speech is next. Oh boy, one of my personal favorites, right speech, samavaka, and the one in which I likely fail the most. We will be reading chapter 6 for next week. You will be looking at this as we intention peace, as we embody peace, as we then cultivate, recollect qualities of peace. How do we then think, speak, and act? And I've asked you to make a commitment, haven't I, to peace this week, how you live it in the moment, how you live it in the day, how you live it now in the week, and that I've asked you to make a week-long commitment to that. What that looks like for you, please write that down, because we want to talk about it next week as we move into right speech. Pay particular attention. How was I speaking from that peaceable place? What were the words? What were they? Self-care and rest, which is not something, yes, that is an essential element to peace. We need that critically, or we cannot offer that, be that, and share that in shared intention with others. Victor's, thank you for your support. We're going to keep finding ways to be a support to Victor and to the Ukrainian people. We are not done with this. This is not simply a conversation, is it? It is not enough. We have to figure out, how do we live this? What are the ways to do it? For Victor directly, as a member and family member of our Sangha, and then for all peoples. But let's focus right now on the Ukrainian people. We're going to keep coming up with ideas for this. I will look forward to your sharing those with me. I know we're already a few minutes over. I'm going to stop this share for a moment just so I can see who's still here. If you make contact with some organization, some individual who has some real way to support the Ukrainian people, like that shelter box program that is in the Ukraine and has been for a time, let me know. We want to be compiling this so we can think of all these amazing ways to contribute. As you are looking at a way to contribute to peace today, you can send me one organization, person, or action that we could take that you believe would make a difference to the people of the Ukraine. Let me make sure I don't have anything. Yes. Love to Victor, that is for sure. May we just gather ourselves for a moment here and calling Victor to mind. we have all enjoyed Victor, appreciated Victor, celebrated the Sangha with Victor. I hope we get to do that again this summer. We took on some of, Victor shared his Ukrainian tradition with us at the last birthday party for the Sangha. May we do so again in deep appreciation and gratitude for Victor, for his contribution to our community. May we now be a contribution to him and his. And may our practice, our conversation today contribute. May we all be well. May we all be safe. May we all be peace. May we all contribute it to the end of suffering and war. So be it. Thank you all. Thank you. Everyone, come on, say hi. Good to see you. I look forward to, Marie, I thought you were going to be sleeping. You look upright and quite awake. There's Adrian on the way to work.
Hey, Adrian, looking foxy as always. Love you. Have a great day.
She's on the way to work.
This was more important than sleeping.
Yes, I think
I
so.
can sleep. I can sleep afterward.
I hope
Wow, look at-
so, Marie. May you have
this is
rest
lovely.
today. Doesn't even matter, does it?
Oh, I don't even care. I'm
Last
just
thing
like,
we
wow.
all need to be thinking about right now is that hair. In
Hey.
fact, if it's all over, it probably means you've been contributing something to someone else. Good for you. May we
Well
all
thought.
have messy hair
Somewhere.
from that aspiration.
Amen.
I sent, oh yeah, well, Marilyn, yes, Marilyn has the best hair in the universe. I wish you could see her hair. It's always I love it. It's the best hair. There's a Save the Children Ukraine project. Thank you for sending that to me. I will be getting lists, and I also am going to be doing a little research. Also, we're talking, by the way, with the Ukraine Rotary. See how we can be supporting them, since I'm a member of the Rotary as well, and they're right there. So we want to hear from them how we can be helpful too. But thank you, Leslie, for that. Can everybody send me something they think could be a benefit that would be helpful? Save the Children, and I'll look it up. The picture that Victor made this morning of these 1,000 people trying to get on trains and be safe. Send our peaceful whole hearts to them today as they're trying to get out of the country to be safe, because they have gotten word that more.
Thank you, Diana.